In this video, I'm going to give you an unbiased look at the opinions of pro-life people so that you can have better conversations with your pro-life friends. If you're watching this, I assume you're pro-choice. You probably have some pro-life friends with whom you disagree, and you probably also hate the term pro-life because that makes it seem like people who aren't pro-life are anti-life or pro-death, and that has nothing to do with being pro-choice. From your point of view, the debate is about a woman's right to bodily autonomy. Of course, if you accuse your pro-life friends of simply wanting to control women's bodies, they probably don't respond too well. I don't blame them. People don't like being accused of wanting to control women's bodies, nor do they appreciate being called a liar with ulterior motives. So your friends probably don't respond in a perfectly objective, rational way. Most likely, you just get into a heated and unproductive argument. Sound familiar? Well, listen up, because I've got 7 things to point out that'll make your discussions with pro-lifers much less frustrating and much more profitable. It's not my intention to convince anyone to be pro-life. My only goal is to show what normal pro-life people do and don't believe. So, with that said, here are 7 things that pro-choicers need to understand about the pro-life position. Number 1, most likely, you, the pro-choicer, don't think abortion should be legal all the way up until the moment of birth. That's a pretty uncommon position for pro-choicers to take. If you're part of the small minority that does take this position, you can skip to the next point. If you think there's a point beyond which abortions should not be legal, you should let your pro-life friends know that. That shows that there's at least some common ground between the two of you. That was a pretty quick one, so moving on to number 2, which is that pro-lifers do usually think abortion should be legal in certain circumstances, like rape or life-threatening health issues. So if you bring those examples up as counters to their pro-life view, they're probably gonna be a little confused and think you're a bit misguided. Now, that said, you definitely should bring up those cases. Just expect pro-lifers to have already thought a bit about those cases. Some pro-lifers will respond, well, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Yes, it's terrible that someone was raped, but it's also terrible to kill someone. And admittedly, killing a fetus doesn't prevent the rape or punish the rapist. This might be a good time for you to challenge whether abortion really is equivalent to killing someone. You could also respond that, yes, it's true. Getting an abortion doesn't prevent rape and it doesn't punish rapists. But not getting the abortion essentially punishes the woman for something she had absolutely no control over. The pro-lifer might respond, yeah, it's a lose-lose situation. Either you kill an innocent person, the fetus, or you force an innocent person, the woman, to go through pregnancy and potentially years of supporting the child. For many pro-lifers, the choice is between a heavy inconvenience and killing someone. And they just think, look, the heavy inconvenience is bad, but it's not as bad as killing someone. This is another good time to question whether the fetus is a person. Because if the fetus isn't a person, why should it be illegal? You could also bring up that even if the fetus is a person, is it so immediately obvious that an abortion is worse than forcing the mother through this pregnancy and potentially years of child rearing? This is sure to spark a whole new debate, and admittedly, the pro-lifer might respond in kind of a hostile way. So just keep that in mind bringing this up. That's a possibility. Number 3, pro-lifers often think you're not focusing on the real issue by bringing up cases of rape and bad health conditions. And there's a reason for this. Statistically, these cases are pretty uncommon. According to research, only 12% of people who got an abortion report bad health conditions as the reason they got their abortion, or even one of the reasons. And this isn't something like fatal health conditions where the mother will die. It's just health conditions, health inconveniences. That means roughly 88% of women who get abortions don't get it for any health-related reason. This same research shows that only 1% of women who get abortions do so because they were raped. Now, granted, rape statistics are a little weird, so sometimes they can be underreported. But let's say that the numbers are literally double. That means 98% of those who get abortions don't do so because they were raped. On the other hand, 73% of people who got abortions got them because they couldn't afford a baby. 74% of those who got an abortion report doing so because having the child would drastically change their life. For clarity, the reason these percentages don't add up to 100 is because people in the study could report multiple reasons, so a lot of the numbers overlap. These are by far the most common reasons women get abortions. And these are the cases that pro-lifers are most concerned about. If fetuses really are people, and you're just getting rid of them because you say, I can't afford it, or my life would totally change, does that justify killing a person? This is where you, the pro-choicer, could respond again by challenging whether the fetus is a person. And you could also try and show how these more extreme cases of rape and serious health conditions are related and intertwined legally with the more common cases. Number 4, pro-lifers genuinely believe that abortion involves the killing of a baby, and that the fetus inside you is a distinct person from you. Now, whether or not that's true, they seriously do believe it to be true. My point is, pro-lifers don't have this ulterior motive to control women's bodies. There's no council of pro-lifers that's like, we get to control them. I know some pro-choicers might have a hard time believing this, but it is the truth. And not recognizing it is just going to make you more angry. It's more accurate to say pro-lifers want to prevent women from killing people. That's why when you bring up the issue of bodily autonomy, they think you're the one changing the subject. People are not pro-life because abortion is an example of women's rights and they are against women's rights. People are pro-life because they're against killing people, and they view abortion as the killing of a person. That's literally why they're called pro-life. It's possible you think pro-lifers are against women's rights because you don't see abortion as the killing of a person, or maybe you can't see how anyone could think abortion is the killing of a person. But either way, pro-lifers really do believe this. Number 5. It's pretty common for some pro-choicers to say, you're not pro-life. You care for the fetus 9 months when it's in the woman's body, but the moment it's born, you don't care about it at all. I'm sorry to say, but flinging this statement out by itself with nothing else is literally worthless. It's a political slogan that is hopelessly broad and vague. I mean, you could literally be talking about anything. You could be talking about overfilled adoption centers, welfare policies, low-income housing, healthcare. Hell, you might even be talking about student loan forgiveness. By itself, it is extremely hostile and just helps nothing. A more tactful way to get your point across is to say, look, it's great that your intention is to save lives, but I often get the impression that pro-lifers don't really care what happens to the baby after it's born. A pro-lifer will probably respond, how so? And there is your chance to get more specific on what you mean. Number 6, when pro-lifers ask you where the line is between a fetus with human rights and a fetus without human rights, this is not a trick question. They're not just trying to trap you. Rather, they likely think that apart from the moment of conception, there just is no hard and fast line saying, okay, now the fetus has human rights. If there's no hard line, then the most we could say about virtually all abortions is that the fetus probably isn't a person. But there is a world of difference between saying you can have an abortion because the fetus isn't a person and saying you can have an abortion because the fetus probably isn't a person. What if it is a person? How do we determine the fetus isn't a person? Last but certainly not least, number 7, pro-lifers often have religious backgrounds that inform their pro-life position. If that's the case, it might be good to just right off the bat say, hey, I don't share that same religious conviction, so we're probably not going to see eye to eye on this. But it'd be nice to find some common ground. If there's one thing I want to get across in both of these abortion videos that I've made, it's just be charitable. And with that, we come to the end of the video. So, if you like the video, please click the like button. And if you really like it, subscribe. If you want to support what I do, you can support me through PayPal or sign up to become a Patreon with some interesting perks. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.